Dear delegates, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all to the third edition of the world's largest FinTech Fest, Global FinTech Fest 2022, organized by National Payments Corporation of India, Payments Council of India, and FinTech Convergence Council. This edition of Fest is supported by Department of Economic Affairs, RBI, and IFSCA. My name is Amla Agarwal and I'm your host for this session. The topic of our discussion is faster payments infrastructure for all, a Latin American perspective. It's a part of the panel discussion. We're glad to have an esteemed panel right here set for this discussion. So today, virtually joining us, we have Mr. Angelo Duarte, Head Competition and Financial Market Structure Department, Central Bank of Brazil, Mr. Leandro Vilain, Director, Innovation, Products and Services, Brazilian Banking Association, Mr. Othón Moreno, Director, Policy and Research, Payment System Division, Bank of Mexico, Mr. Alejandro Pineda, CEO, OpenPay by BBVA. In order to moderate this session, we would like to introduce you to Mr. Alexandre Tombini, Chief Representative for Americas BIS. We'll be taking few questions at the end of this session, so please keep it ready. And you can also post the same in the chat box section. So now, please allow me to welcome Mr. Alexandre Tombini. So he'll take it over from here.
So good morning, everyone that follows us from the Americas continent, and good evening to those there in Mumbai for this Global FinTech Fest. It's a privilege for me to be moderating this session with four highly qualified experts on the issues that we were going to be discussing this morning in the Americas, fast payment systems in Latin America and how they can work for all. So the panelists are already introduced, so I'm not going to go over this again, but it's a great pleasure to see my four friends here this morning in the Americas with me and conveying the message from Latin America, I should say, to you there in Asia. So we have two of the most advanced countries in this panel, most advanced, I should say, in the Americas, not only Latin America, which are Brazil and Mexico, as you've seen in the introductions. So they will give you the perspective from their constituents, but also this will give you a flavor of how we are doing in this digital space in this continent. So the topic, fast payment infrastructure for all, Latin American perspective. As we know, some of you might know, and certainly we do have this knowledge here in the region that we have made very important strides in developing digital payment solutions for all. And this is quite important. Brazil and Mexico, their central banks have partnered with the private sector, so we have both dimensions here today, the official and the private sector. And this partnership has sort of allowed these two constituents to develop retail payment systems where payment message transmission and availability of payees funds occur in real time. In Brazil, the name of the new system is PIX. It's a 2-year-old system. We have colleagues speaking about that. And in Mexico, the name of this retail payment system is CODI. We have also a couple of colleagues from Mexico here speaking about this today. So I will start my first set of questions. I will begin with our central bank colleagues. So Angelo, Duarte, and Othón Moreno. Angelo, to you first. So we start with PIX, the Brazilian digital retail payment system. So how does it work, and which are the most important characteristics of PIX that you can share with our audience, and what are the main challenges of its implementation? And last but not least, which factors do you think were important for the high public adoption of PIX in Brazil? Angelo, please.
Thank you to be invited for the seminar. It's a big pleasure to discuss on these topics with our Mexican colleagues. Talking about PIX, I want to highlight 3 characteristics of PIX that I deem are most important. One is that the easiness and convenience in making a payment using PIX. The central bank with the private sector has worked hardly to build a standardized and friendly journey for the users, and also each user can assign an alias or more than, in fact, more than one. It could be an email address, tax ID, or a phone number to her account. Then so it makes very easy to make a payment that you just to enter the alias of the payee account and the amount, or read a QR code. And a second characteristic that I want to pinpoint is the PIX is very open. It's an open environment. So any licensed institution, any licensed by the central bank institution, which includes banks and non-banks, fintechs, and credit unions can join PIX. And also in under certain circumstances, non-licensed institution can also join PIX. And so we have, let's say, potentially 99% of persons connected to the financial system and to the payment system are also connected to PIX. And around 2/3 of adults living in the country are also connected to PIX. So you have a lot of ground to reap the benefits of this network, this very huge network. And a third characteristic that I want to highlight is that it's related to liquidity. As a fast payment system, the transaction are settled immediately, and the funds are, as a consequence, available immediately to payees. This is relevant for small entrepreneurs. They are very liquidity constrained. So these are the 3 characteristics that I want to highlight. Talking about challenges in let's say, implementing PIX, I want to mention one that I think it's not abnormal. It's normal in this kind of very comprehensive projects, very ambitious projects, is that the difficult to coordinate very different private sector, very different PSP, private sector institutions in the project. I think as any other financial system, you have an asymmetry among the institutions, very large ones, small ones, digital ones, more traditional ones. And they used to see different opportunities and threats with the PIX. Então, so coordinating these all, let's say, interests in different technical capabilities of them, it's not easy. It's a huge challenge. But I think in the end of the day, all them saw very large advantages of the PIX in the way to digitalize the payment system. I think that I'm just missing the and how PIX works. So PIX is very straightforward. The central bank offer two infrastructures: the settlement system and the alias database. And you have all the authorized and non-authorized institutions connected to these infrastructures. And as a consequence, their clients also connect to the PIX. So you can initiate, as I mentioned, with an alias or a QR code and a payment using the app of your PSP. There is no application specific for the PIX. The PIX is inside, is embedded the conventional application of your PSP, and so you can initiate a payment very easily. And so to be strict to the time, these are my first comments.
Thank you so much, Angelo, for this. Let me now turn to Mexico. Othón, how, in your view, CODI and SPAY, which is the infrastructure under which CODI is built, how the system is different, in your opinion, your views, from PIX that Angelo just presented? In which ways are these two major digital payment systems similar? Also, how were CODI and SPAY implemented in your jurisdictions, and what were the main challenges? So, Othón, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Also, try to be respectful of the time. I think you're gonna believe I'm copying the answers from Angelo, but I think most of the challenges and the characteristics of the systems are quite similar. We are and for the audience that is looking to implement something like this in their own jurisdictions, or trying to understand what are the critical issues regarding fast payment systems, I think these characteristics that are common between SPAY and PIX are quite relevant. The importance of having the open environment that Angelo was referring. In our payments, in fast payment systems, pay and the request to pay functionality that is CODI. Most of the of the financial institutions, not only deposit taking institutions, unlike Brazil and Mexico, all financial institutions have access to the real time gross settlement system, which in Mexico is also the fast payment system, right? So we also trying to reach as many people as possible that have any kind of financial service to be able to access the payment services. I don't know if we are near the 99%, but I'm pretty sure we are close to that 99% of financial included people that have access to any kind of payment system provided by the central bank, and therefore the private payment service provider. The real-time settlement is the same in Mexico. I think there's a bit of a confusion, right? Or because, and I think it's mainly because the coincidence of times of CODI and PIX. CODI is not our fast payment system. CODI is just the request to pay functionality over a fast payment system that has been in place in Mexico since 2004, and then evolving through time to become what is today our fast payment system with all the reach and access. But just to have these comparable systems between Mexico and Brazil, you need to take into account our RTGS first, that then evolve into a 24/7 for all system. Then you can call it around 2015 and 2017 a fast payment system in Mexico. And on top of that, you can have the request to pay functionality, the APIs connected to the Fed Global, just to bring the whole range of services. Now, and so I think that covers the similarities between PIX. Now, why it's different? I think the main difference, and I was trying to get into with this the last few minutes, is the way it was developed. PIX is a all-in-one solution developed a few years ago, while SPAY and CODI, this system has been evolving with different implementations through time, starting from 2004 and going all to 2019 with the development of CODI, little by little, step by step, we were evolving a wholesale RTGS into a retail fast payment system. And I think this evolution had helped the Central Bank of Mexico to push the policy regarding access to payments at incremental steps, unlike Brazil, that just went all in one implementation. I think those two approaches are quite different. I think both successful in their own ways with their own challenges, right? But I think that's the main difference among the two infrastructures. And now regarding the main challenges is when people I think I wasn't preparing my answer and I just copied Angelo, but believe me, it's not true. I also wanted to talk about coordination. Coordination is one of the hardest things when implementing this kind of system. This is a two-sided market, right? You need payers and you need payees, and you need to have ready both parts of the market in order to build the adoption and the momentum of the system. The coordination for either trying to go parallel and build the payee and the payer market at the same time, or either you want to go with one first and make sure you have the strength to support one of the side of the market while the other is not fully developed. Those kind of challenges in the coordination of the two markets I think is the most important problems a public officer will face when they're trying to implement these kind of systems. And just to respect time, I'll give back the voice to you.
Thank you so much, Othón. Thanks for this perspective. So speaking of coordination, let's turn now to our colleagues from the private sector. So coordination, we can also speak of cooperation in developing the system. I think the partnership here is crucial. Without the partnership, we couldn't get to something which is sort of aimed to replace other forms of payment and have high adoption. So let me turn to you, Alejandro, first, and then Leandro. Could you share with us, Alejandro, what role did the banking industry play in the development and implementation of CODI/SPAY, as Othón just explained to us? And from your perspective, what were the main challenges from the private sector side?
Thank you for bringing me here. Well, the banking industry plays a very important role in the development of electronic payments, developing new technologies that facilitate the access of customers to their resources. Over the years, the main focus of the industry has been the development of new digital platforms for customers to easily access banking products and services. So, the use of SPAY and CODI are key factors that have allowed the digital transformation of over 60 million customers that now use mobile banking applications as their main access point to the banking services, including electronic money transfers, service payments, cardless money withdrawals and ATMs, and top-ups. Looking forward, we think the main challenge will be to proactively promote the use of electronic money transfer between customers, using mobile phone numbers as account ID or some alias like in the Brazil environment, and the use of CODI as a payment platform for big retailers and the government. For the last couple of years, the main target in CODI has been the enrollment of bank customers to these payment platforms, to which we already have over 5 million enrolled customers in the banks in Mexico. The target for 2023 is to heavily promote among our customers the use of CODI as a payment platform for every kind of business, from micro and small business up to big retailers, and also increase the number of P2P transactions using the mobile phone number as the account's ID. This alias, I think, is the key factor to explode the transactionality of these platforms. In this project, the Mexican Bank Association is working very closely with Mexican Central Bank in order to have this by the end of the year. So that's the role that we are doing from the banks and the private sector, working together with the authorities.
Excellent. Thanks, Alejandro, for this perspective. Now let's turn back to Brazil and the private sector of Brazil. Leandro,
Okay.
can you tell us about this interaction between you guys, the banks, the FEBRABAN, the Brazilian Association of Banks, and the central bank and other institutions in putting together
Yes.
this PIX system, and how has PIX changed so far the financial system?
Yeah. Specifically, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation. Well, first of all, I would like to start adding something on the Angelo said, some challenge that we have faced in the launching. Pointed out that specifically in Brazil, if you remind, our launching process was by the end of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic process. So the entire development and tests and even the deployment was done from the technical teams working from home, exactly in the moment that we were facing the challenges on the pandemic issue. So people were working remotely. Gives some constraints on communication, on integration, different teams on from the bank's perspective. But of course, I guess central bank made two terrific good jobs on first of all, providing the entire customer experience standardization. I guess this is a big differential because the customer, first of all, this customer experience was very friendly from the customer perspective, and the experience is absolutely the same no matter which app he's navigating. So as Angelo said, the feature of Pix is embedded on the bank application. However, the screens in the format of alias, capture, and even the transaction is more or less similar in different financial institutions. It gives a very comfortable situation from the customer perspective. And second, I guess central bank created a working group with of course with the technical team from central bank and also the technical teams provided by the banks. And this working group was very collaborative in terms of propositions and discussions. Of course, everything was new for everyone, not only for central bank, but also from the bank's perspective. But the point here is the environment of this working group was very friendly and very comfortable to everyone to propose different suggestions and recommendations. And at the end of the day, some of these recommendations was done, was adapted, was consolidated, and others one not, but it's part of the game. But the point here is it was a very, let's say, very comfortable way to discuss, very open in a very collaborative way. I guess it made a huge difference. Later on the deployment, the banks were absolutely engaged in the process. And if you remind, on the when we opened the system by end of 2020, a lot of people immediately get the alias on the platform, and the product launched very easily, much easier way.
Thank you so much, Leandro, for your perspective. So now we saw, I mean, the main characteristics, the main challenges of the implementation. Let's move on now to financial inclusion. So we have here simple and efficient payment system. I think this is a high-level goal of any financial sector authority, and we are heading towards this reality in these two jurisdictions. So, but access to payment system is only a gateway, right, for further financial inclusion, for other services. So I have a general questions for the fourth of you, which is what you think the effects of PIX in the case of Brazil, Codis Pay in the case of Mexico, has had on financial inclusion beyond the payment sort of facilitation that we have seen. So you're free to pick this question or not, but I will go in the same order as the first round. So Angelo. Would you like to weigh in?
Okay. I think the most important impact on inclusion was not on new people entering the system or opening an account, was on the changing of the habits in using the account. I want more information, but in Brazil, even before Pix, we have a great, let's say, share of the population list or holding at least one account in some compared to other Latin American countries, of course, but because many poor people and employers and poor have to hold an account to receive social benefits. And some months before Pix launch, during the pandemic, as Leandro mentioned, Caixa Econômica Federal, que is a state-held bank, chose to pay benefits for poor families to mitigate the impact of the pandemic, open 4 million accounts in 1 month. And so, but what is important, what's the impact, the relevant impact of Pix is that poor citizens start to see more value in holding an account. Okay. These people used to, let's say, to go to a bank branch once a month, cash the entire balance and use cash to make their day-to-day payments. And with Pix, they start to make payments using Pix. And we have for this group of the population, they are making, let's say, more than 10 times the number of payments that they used to make before Pix. They are actually using their accounts to make payments. Once these people use Pix to make payments, they produce data. This data can be used to, let's say, to offer or to cross-sell and to offer new financial insurance products to this invisible population. I said invisible because many of them are informal employees or informal entrepreneurs. Then they are more visible to the system. We have some evidence on this cross-selling, on the increase of credit supply to this share of the population, but you cannot ascertain that there is a direct effect from the Pix to this effect on credit and other financial products. I think we need more research on this because we have other factors acting on the same time. The government expanding their social benefits during the pandemic, and so we have to wait more time, collect more data, and to see the effects. Okay, we're gonna in a few months we're gonna publish a report on the bank economy. It's additional report of the Central Bank of Brazil. Then we're gonna share some information on this, but it's just evidence. We have to research more on this.
Thank you so much, Angelo. Othón, why don't you share with us?
The side of what's in Mexico, I think the financial inclusion environment in Mexico is radically different what you can observe in Brazil. Just for a little bit of context, 90% of 85 to 90%, depending on the day of the week you make the survey, of transactions are made in cash instead of electronic payments in Mexico, right? So we gotta admit that there's a huge debt from the side of the authorities on this issue of financial inclusion in Mexico. Now that being said, the system has been evolving and has been increasing the users quite importantly. We're expecting for 2022 to have 3 billion payments in Spain, well, for the whole year. Today our daily record of transactions is 27.5 million payments in one day, and with 8 million government payments daily. made through the system, right? And what this kind of systems, what they have, of course, they have a betterment of the payment system, of the payment services. That's obvious, right? But going to your question, Alexandre, what's beyond the payment, the payment services that can be provided through the implementation of a fast payment system? What we can observe is, since we have all financial institutions connected to the system, that have allowed for the emergence of these sort of like kind of like these neobanks, right, with no branches. They need a way to connect, and what we have been observing in the country is that the first wave of customers of these new institutions, completely digital, are first the second account. It's not the main account. They have the main account with established commercial bank, and they have the second account for these kind of innovative and more flexible services with these neo institutions, completely digital. But they need a way to get the resources, and the way they use to get the resources is through the fast payment system, right? So that allows them to reach the public. And I'm not talking about just deposit taking institutions. I'm talking about credit granting institutions. They need a way to disperse the payments, to gather to get the payments from the credits, right? And they need a way to do that without having a branch. And a fast payment system allow them to do that. And we have seen with the implementation of Spain, and especially with CODI, which has this extra functionality of providing all that information, that back office information that can be easily implemented in the QR code or in the payment message, right? That it's very efficient for microcredit institutions to go out to the public, say, you don't need to go to the branch or to the convenience store to make the payment. All you gotta do is to scan this QR code with your traditional financial institution, right? So those kind of services that we can see are also really very, very relevant. And it first started like a boleto solution in Brazil, when you can have this numeric code and you can get to the convenience store and make a payment. Now you go fully digital with the implementation of the aliases and the standard banking accounts codes in Mexico. And then on top of that, you can make more and more services for the provision of credit, for investment products. That everything relies on the possibility of being able to access the system and extend what you can do without needing the physical interaction at a branch. And now it's a name that is being given in the back office in the country. I need a pay in and a pay out solution, right? But it's so pervasive across the implementations that now the institutions call it this pay in and this pay out, because they understand that goes to pay and it's a back office solution for the provision of many other financial services.
Thank you so much, Othón. Alejandro, any words from impact on financial inclusion from the private sector? You are muted.
Thank you. Yes, only a few words over the Angelo's and Othón's comments. I think the electronic money transfers have been the key element to attract new customers to digital products and services. Othón said this kind of neobanks, but the established commercial banks also are using and are having a very heavy activity around the banking apps and the open and the possibility to open a digital account. I think this is a key factor for the financial inclusion. The way the people unbanked takes easily an account is the start point of the financial inclusion. A digital account plus this wonderful fast payment system that we have in Mexico, Pay and CODI, I think is a good couple of things that can impulse the financial inclusion in Mexico. Obviously, we have a lot of challenge. It's also a good opportunity. The use of banking apps, by example, among the introduction of digital accounts has provided to reduce the use of cash in daily transactions. And also, we have very important statistical data. Angelo says, with this data, the financial institutions can bring new services to these new financial users. So I think it's a lot of work to do, but we have the foundation of this possible growth through the digital accounts and the FPS system.
Thank you very much, Alejandro. Leandro, back to you now.
Cool. First of all, it's important to understand the Brazil environment. So some studies that we have here in Febraban says that till 2016, 2017, around 40% of the transactions were done in cash. Of course, I have to recognize that too, before the peaks, bank system were afraid about some cannibalization on the debit cards and other payment instruments. However, gentlemen, what really happened here, we notice a huge cannibalization from cash transactions moving into a fast payment. At the end of the day, just to provide an idea, some branches or some banks are reporting to me that they have noticed people flow into branches in around 30%. Of course, we have also the COVID issue where people change its culture. We have also noticed people using more frequently the apps. But at the end of the day, considering and keep in mind that Brazil have a significant number of informal employees. We have around 30 million people working in an informal economy, and these guys before 2020 used to receive money in cash, and most of these guys now, this important cluster move a very fast pace into peaks. So then I could say that peaks maybe was the most important financial inclusion tool in Brazil that we have noticed in the latest years, because this informal economy entirely moved to the formal financial system. It was very important, no doubt about it, because otherwise this guy would receive its sales in cash, and we have a lot of issues on this. So very important tool for financial inclusion, no doubt.
Thank you very much, Leandro. Let me move now quickly to our last part of this conversation, and I want to talk about the future of digital payments, right? I mean, we have seen the two experiences, very successful, financial inclusion-wise, and reducing time and cost of payment system, and potentially growing into different areas of the financial sector. But we have also seen in the region the presence of newcomers. You mentioned a few times neobanks. We have the non-financial technology firms, big techs, and some other different actors that are participating and providing also private solutions. So this is a reality around the globe, and is not different here in our region. So I wanted to sort of explore your views on this issue, and I will start with a question for Othón Moreno, and this. So Othón, how do you distinguish this public initiative like Colis Pay from the private provided solutions? What are the main differences that you see on those two kind of responses to the demand from payees?
Thank you for the question. I believe there's of course room for everyone in the market. There's and a little bit what Leandro was talking about, this fear of cannibalization between products of debit and the PIX implementation, I think can be replicated in the provision of a public service, a public infrastructure for payments against some other private infrastructure for payments. Cards being one of the private solutions, but there are also other private solutions depending on the jurisdiction you're talking about. And I believe there's that fear is unfounded, that there's also going to be complementary production of services, precisely by the nature of the public infrastructure, which is not necessarily bring products directly to the public, but just establish just the general back office infrastructure for the private sector to actually provide the services to the general public, right? And there's a lot of advantages in this public infrastructure. One, of course, is we're talking about the network here, and we're talking about the two-sided market. So there is a lack of incentive sometimes for the private sector to internalize in the cost benefit analysis of developing either the infrastructure, in the case of Brazil, or the incremental improvements on an already established infrastructure, which is the case of Mexico. In the cost benefit analysis, the private sector is not necessarily going to internalize all the benefits for the society, because that's the nature of the private sector, right? But the public infrastructure will do that, and the public provision of the services will be able to do all these. So it's going to be more reliable for the society to incorporate these kind of considerations when deciding to invest or not in a public payment solution rather than a purely private solution. Also, I think that what comes to investments, it's easier for the public to make these investments, especially because the non-for-profit solution that we had, the condition that we have, we are not looking to be profitable, right? Just cost recovery is more than enough to make a solution financially viable, and that's also, I think, an important issue when going into this kind of interaction with the public and private solutions. I can talk about this all day long, but I think we're time constrained. Alexandre, thank you.
We know that, Othón. Thank you very much for this perspective. I think makes all the sense. I mean, this analysis that the public solution provides is not there. But let me turn to Brazil and to the private sector, Leandro. So, how do you see very briefly the banks, the incumbents dealing with this disruption that is brought about with these new technologies? We have the PIX, but we have the other solutions. And then I might add something. Did you see any unexpected sort of impacts from rolling out PIX that you can share with the audience briefly? Thanks. You're muted.
Okay, thanks. Again, Brazil is very particular in terms of environment and so on. As I said, it's very important. My recommendation here is to pay a lot of attention on customer security. And we have, as you know, Brazil has an issue on public security. And we have noticed also an increasing of social engineers tools, because the point here is the instant payment is so friendly, so easy to use, that it makes the bad guys' lives easier, to apply frauds or frauds and extortion and others. So we have to react very fast in regards these procedures from these gangs, and very strong collaboration on public authorities in terms of security. In our case, federal police has a terrific job working on monitoring these gangs and arresting a lot of people. So this is something that we have to put a lot of focus on fraud prevention, and also on communication, because most of the social engineering is something that the customer needs to pay attention. So in regards to innovation, Mr. Tombini, I guess that we have We have a very engaged industry, bank industry here in Brazil. Brazil is always a very the Brazilian customer is very engaged on new technologies. We have one of the biggest markets on the social media. We have around 70%. Last year we did 109 billion transactions, which 70% was done by internet or mobile. We have customers which has a lot of appetite to use technology. So technology is part of our DNA, and as much as I can imagine, probably it's a picture that we will maintain on the next upcoming years.
Thank you so much, Leandro, for staying in bounds, everyone. So far, so good. And we have very little time left, but I want to hear from Alejandro. And what do you think the collaboration between the official sector, the Central Bank, Banxico, and yourselves, the Banking Association, can be done to strengthen the fast payment system?
Thank you very much for being here. Well, we are convinced that we need to keep working very close to the industry and to our authorities, because we want to build a better and stronger financial ecosystem. It's mandatory. I think in order to do this, we need to keep up with newer and better technological solutions. Like Leandro said, the technology is a key issue here. New players, welcome to new players in an open environment that provide improved financial solutions, guaranteeing technological innovation, and overall regulatory playing field for all the players, and sustainable economics based on the added value of financial services. I think are the challenges that we are fronting, but we can work together, industry and authorities, to face it. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Alejandro. So, Angelo, a final word on how do you see the sort of the payment system, the digital payment system going forward? Would you project it in 10, 20 years into the future? This is our last participation, then we turn to you.
And short on time.
Yeah.
So we
Angelo,
have
please.
very few minutes left, and you also have to answer a few questions.
Sure, we will do that.
I'll be very brief.
Okay.
Of course, there is large room for digitalization in payments in Latin America. I see some constraints, although not related to the technology itself, but more related to the availability of internet and also the digital illiteracy. You have people that they are feel comfortable making digital payments. By our statistics, 30% of people, also besides cash, you have 30% of people going to the presential channels of the banking system to make payments. And in this case, they are in theory able to make these payments remotely, but they prefer to go presentially. So I think as education and digital education advances in the region, we see a great room to reduce these payments that are presentially the use of cash. There is also the point of security, as Leandro Vilain, that you have worked with the private sector. But we see also that it's not, let's say, a one single solution, as PIX or CODI. I think multiple solutions. In Brazil, have well-developed car industry growing at 2-digit for more than 10 years. And then I saw very digital and multiple initiatives at the same time, let's say, to bridge this gap in the region.
Thank you very much, Angelo. Thank you to all the panelists, and back to you, to our hosts.
Firstly, thank you, panel, for such an engaging and informative session. Would also like to thank Mr. Alexandre Tombini for moderating this session so well. And since we have very few minutes left, I'm gonna post like 2 questions. So, here I'm posting the first one. And also going to read this for the audience. What are the risks of fast payments infrastructure? We'll have to like quickly answer these. What are the risks of fast payments infrastructure?
Can I just rapidly answer that question? I'm following Leandro. I think cybersecurity. We have worked on making this as fast as possible, as easy as possible. But with that comes the ill-intended who are going to use the easiness to implement risk. So I think the main risk is that, and the main solution is cybersecurity and fraud prevention.
I fully agree with Othón. It's cybersecurity. It's a constant challenge.
Okay. Can I move on to the next question, sir? Here's the next question. How does the fast payment infrastructure help India in specific make payment easier and secure?
I suppose you have to ask this to RBI.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
So waiting.
The question was for
India.
That question was
India.
India.
Here we are, Mexico and Brazil.
You want me to read the question again for you, sir?
the question.
No, we understood the question.
They are not
That's the question, but it's about India.
Yeah, okay, so I'll repeat that for you. How does this fast payment infrastructure help India in specific make payments easier and secure?
Yes, but I think that this question would be directed to someone from the Central Bank of India, the Reserve Bank of India, because you are not experts in Indian markets.
Okay. Okay. So, sir, would you like to conclude the session? Mr. Alexandre, would you like to conclude the
I have to
session?
leave.
Yes, just to thank the panelists for this formidable discussion and look forward to interactions with our Indian colleagues and with Mexico and Brazil. So thanks again for attending this session.
Bye-bye.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Pleasure.
So with that, we'd like to bring this session to an end. It was an amazing session, informative session. Thank you once again to our esteemed speakers and moderators and audience. It was an honor to have you here at Global FinTech Fest 2022. We would like to thank our partners, theme partner WhatsApp, co-powered by Amazon Pay, spend management partner Encash, in association with Perfuse, payments partner Cash Free Payments, CEO's dinner partner HSBC, communication partner Kalera, banking partner Standard Chartered Bank, diamond partner PayU, AWS, Kia.ai Infrasoft, Paytm, networking partner Buddy Loan. Thank you very much, everyone, for being a part of this session. Stay tuned for more. Thank you.